My name is Emma. In our small Wisconsin lakeside town, winters were long, and everybody knew each other. Growing up, my family seemed normal. My mom worked nights as a nurse at the county hospital, and my dad taught high school chemistry. We weren't rich, we weren't poor. As an only child, I thought everyone loved me. Dad took me fishing every weekend, and Mom would brush my hair before she left for work. On summer evenings, we'd eat ice cream on the porch while listening to crickets chirping. I believed I had a warm, loving family. That all ended one cold January night when I turned 8. I woke up to urgent knocking and flashing lights in our driveway. My Aunt Carol rushed in with a pale face, telling me to grab my coat and a few things. "Your mom's in the hospital," she said. "Your sister was born 2 months early and needs special care." Before we continue with today's story, if you're enjoying what you've heard so far, please hit that subscribe button. Every new subscriber helps me keep sharing these inspiring tales that touch your day. Thank you for your support. I was too young to understand, but that night changed everything. Olivia was a tiny red living thing surrounded by tubes and machines, lying still in an incubator. I couldn't even get close to her. "We can't risk her getting sick," Mom said, eyes fixed on the heart monitor. When I reached for her hand, she pulled away slowly, like I was something dangerous. After Olivia came home, everything revolved around her. Hand sanitizer in every room, air purifiers running nonstop, and the smell of bleach burning my throat made our house feel like a hospital. If I coughed or sneezed, Mom would take me to Grandma's. At first, it felt nice. Grandma made delicious apple pie and saved books for me. Slowly, I realized I wasn't welcome at home anymore. They were afraid I might hurt Olivia, their precious hope. When I got my first perfect math test in 3rd grade, I brought it home expecting Mom to put it on the fridge like she used to. After glancing at the paper, she asked Dad if he had tissues for Olivia, who looked stuffy. Dad just nodded and said, "Good job." No hug, no smile. Just, "Done." I tried everything to get their attention. Drew pictures, won first place at the school science fair, told Mom about the great book I was reading. Every attempt was met with, "Olivia has a fever," or "she's sleeping," or "she needs rest," or "Emma, please be quiet." My invisibility grew. I kept to myself since Olivia was bothered by the lavender oil scent in my room. So my bedroom became the one place I wasn't allowed to bring her. In that one space that felt like mine, I studied art history, antiques, and imagined the worlds behind every old painting. Rewriting history hurts more than ignoring it. Emma has always been strong and independent. Mom would tell neighbors when I got into the gifted program. She understands that Olivia needs extra care. My family vanished without warning. I realized expectations weren't for me when I watched my parents praise, hug, and beam with pride over Olivia. They didn't think I needed that stuff. "Emma is the type who takes care of herself," Mom would say when asked about me. But independence doesn't mean you don't need love. In 8th grade, I applied for a job at Maple Sugar Bakery. Mrs. Bennett, the owner, was my first fan outside my family. She never asked why a 13-year-old wanted to sweep floors and sell pastries after school. She just said, "If you work hard, you deserve a place in the world." I'll never forget when she put her hand on my shoulder. Every day after school, I'd tie my hair back and head to the bakery to wipe tables, wash trays, and take orders. I'd quietly do my homework at my small corner desk. As long as I didn't disturb Olivia with the smell of pastry on my clothes, no one asked where I was or what I was doing when I came home. Olivia was special. She never worked, never cleaned her textbooks, never even visited a bakery except when they bought her birthday cake. My family sent flowers and brought a video camera to all her events, from group presentations to church performances. Me? When I got a perfect SAT score, Mom just said, "That's good," while cutting fruit for Olivia because she needed vitamin C. In my senior year, I applied to 12 colleges. No one knew. I wrote essays secretly during breaks at the bakery and had Mrs. Bennett proofread them. I wrote my own recommendation letters, filled out financial aid forms, and completed the FAFSA myself. Every line on those applications was my quiet protest against being invisible. After working all summer and saving every tip in a jar, I bought a bus ticket to travel to a scholarship interview in another state. One spring afternoon, while cleaning the bakery counter, I got an email. Midwestern University had given me a full scholarship. Standing there surrounded by the buttery cookie smell, my eyes burned as I smiled uncontrollably. Mrs. Bennett hugged me like I was her own grandchild. It was the first time I cried because someone was proud of me. That night, I brought the acceptance letter home. Mom looked at it and placed it on the table. "Congratulations, but don't tell Olivia." She's been stressed lately. I nodded, folded the paper, put it in my pocket, and went upstairs while Olivia laughed about her new dance shoes from a boutique I'd never been to. Weeks later, after Olivia won second place in the school art contest, our family had a party. Dad even hung her drawing in the living room with a plaque that read, "The Family Artist." I looked at her pink cat on a rainbow, then at my scholarship letter, which a college professor had praised, now sitting in my desk drawer. That's when I knew I would always be the invisible child despite my efforts. Even ordinary Olivia was special. I vowed to become someone they couldn't ignore anymore because I finally had a key to escape. I loved art history and was tired of being told what to do, so that's what I studied at Midwestern. Whenever I visited Grandma's house, she'd let me look through boxes of vintage brooches, necklaces, and earrings. My college lectures on Art Deco, European dynasties, and antique jewelry symbols brought those memories back. I remember a swan hairpin with delicate purple stones. I was breathless when light hit the jewel, though I wasn't sure of its value. I spent hours admiring it through the glass. Looking at antiques goes beyond interest. It's my one reliable instinct. After graduating with honors, I interned without pay at a small jewelry evaluation company in Chicago, mostly working with local auction houses. While my friends walked into big media or finance companies, I wore white gloves, hunched over a magnifying glass, and documented every tiny scratch on rings nobody cared about. I didn't know those nameless fragments would change my life. The first big change came with a costume jewelry brooch valued at just a few $dozen. For some reason, picking it up gave me a feeling. The modest design had excellent craftsmanship, beautiful enamel, cleanly etched edges, and a small, almost worn-away mark on the back. I spent all evening researching that mark. It belonged to a French artisan who made jewelry for aristocrats in the early 20th century before losing his workshop during the war. The brooch was actually rare and authentic. I presented my findings to my employers in a short meeting. I spoke with passion, not pride, backing my claims with archival documents, design comparisons, and access to a museum database through a university librarian friend. The brooch was reevaluated at $12,000. At the Seattle Antique Showcase auction, it sold for around $40,000. The company email introduced me with, "Emma has a sharp eye." I continued working as if nothing happened while more misjudged pieces came my way. A cloisonné enamel necklace mistaken for a copy turned out to be authentic 19th century Russian work. Another was one of 30 platinum wedding rings made for a Boston family anniversary. More collections became my responsibility. My supervisor, Catherine, invited me to lunch for the first time. "Emma, have you ever thought about going solo?" she asked as she cut into her tart. I laughed, thinking she was joking. She nodded. "You. The girl who's worked unpaid for 2 years and lives on instant noodles." Exactly. The hungriest people find the rarest meals. I remembered her words. I started verifying items for pawn shops, family-owned antique stores, and small businesses that couldn't afford big firms. My fees were lower, but I checked everything thoroughly. Be careful. Never skip steps. At night in my shabby fourth-floor apartment, I'd unlock my closet and look at the notebook my grandma gave me. The first page said in messy handwriting, "It's not the rare item. It's the girl who sees it as treasure." I understood. If I were invisible at home, every object I touched defined me. I decided never to be underestimated again, just as I never misjudged a hidden jewel. In the fall of my 27th year, I started a business. No one knew. Nobody asked. My family thought I worked a temporary job to fill the gaps between Olivia's lengthy shopping trips. I rented a small office on the 3rd floor of an old Madison building, above an Italian cafe and next to a closed dentist's office. A file box supported my wobbly wooden desk, a chair I rescued from the trash, and a flea market lamp filled the 300-square-foot space. The lamp clicked softly every time I turned it on, as if doubting my dream. Everything faded away when I named the company Silver and Violet, silver for sterling, violet after the flowers my mom planted in our yard before Olivia was born. The beginning was tough. I helped a local antique dealer identify platinum from plated metals and an elderly woman authenticate her Great Depression engagement ring. I meticulously performed gemstone microscopy and historical provenance tracking for less than big businesses. Gradually, I earned respect. One referral became 2. Then a small regional museum called. Estate lawyers and collectors asked for help appraising inherited jewelry sets that had never been evaluated. By my 2nd year, my office grew. I moved to a ground floor space with a glass front near the Italian cafe and put up a sign. I hired my first employee, Hannah, a recent geology graduate with sharp eyes and patience for small stones. She learned to study gemstone cutting under filament lamps, spot handcrafting with the naked eye, and most importantly, trust her intuition. Growth came faster than expected. By year 5, I had offices in Madison, Minneapolis, and Denver. We validated million-dollar auctions, served clients from both coasts, and specialized in forgotten collections from storage units, safes, and attics. My net worth exceeded $12 million, not counting almost $1 million in authentication contracts. Yet I lived in a modest suburban house, drove a neutral silver SUV, and used an old phone because I didn't need to show off. My family didn't understand. To them, Emma was the rebellious daughter who turned down a good office job to work with old things and missed dinner, probably dusting antiques somewhere. I attended Sunday dinners and listened to Mom talk about Olivia changing her major for the 4th time, this time to animal behavior psychology, potentially finding her passion. Dad still advised me to work at the local high school for the great insurance benefits. I watched Olivia scroll through Instagram mid-conversation, showing off a new designer handbag she claimed was on sale, though it was a limited edition that never got discounted. When asked what I was doing, I'd smile gently. They didn't need details. My pearl necklace belonged to an Edwardian British noblewoman. My ruby hairpin was a rare early 20th century design. No one noticed, assuming they were flea market finds. I never corrected them. Olivia joked over dinner, "Emma definitely has enough jewelry to start a shop." I smiled, sipped my orange juice, and replied, "Who knows?" I could have told them I was behind some of the region's largest authentication cases, that my company had just signed a contract with the National Museum, that I was invited to write for a major gemology journal, and that Olivia's bracelet was fake. But sometimes silence is the only crown the overlooked can wear without permission. After my 5th year in business, I started sending my parents money. After Olivia switched to her 5th major, interior design, the field I'd wanted but couldn't afford, her monthly spending jumped from $3,000 to $5,000 to $7,000. Mom called one Saturday evening, her voice softening after a few thank yous. "Olivia's really finding herself, you know, but tuition at Parsons isn't cheap, and your father's teacher salary can't cover it all." I nodded at my desk while reviewing documentation for a $400,000 antique jewelry appraisal. "How much do you need?" I asked after a pause. $7,000 a month, but just temporarily. Once Olivia graduates, she'll help the whole family." I never asked why they hadn't suggested she apply for scholarships or get part-time jobs. Instead, I opened a company account and set up a $7,000 monthly transfer labeled Family Support/Tuition Help. Each time the money went out, I told myself, not because they deserve it, but because I can. Some can't. I tried not to hear Mom tell the neighbors, "Emma lives so frugally. She basically eats canned soup and takes the bus." Or see Olivia post Cabo vacation pictures with luxury luggage captioned, "I deserve this after a tough semester." Olivia smirked at me while I carved the roast for Sunday dinner. "Ever considered getting an MBA? It might help with your antique shop work." Mom nodded quietly. "She's right. Everyone has a master's degree now. Going back to school might improve your work prospects." As I sipped water, I thought about the design for the new New York gallery I'd signed last week. I'd authenticated every piece of jewelry for a $2.5 million project. After a few drinks at her boyfriend's birthday celebration, Olivia told her friends, "My sister, no idea why she's still chasing all that dusty old stuff. Parents still pay her rent out of pity." One of her friends, a former client of mine, told me what she said, and I chuckled. Not unhappy or angry, just empty. Empty at standing at the summit and looking down to see your family still at the base of the mountain, unwilling to climb but needing a rope, like the antiquities I find in junk piles. Silence can make anything special. When Olivia captioned her Instagram post, "Rewarding myself after a rough semester. Hard work pays off," I knew the car cost over $90,000, something no Parsons student could afford without quite funding. Mom called me happily that day. "Did you see, honey? Olivia is doing so well. She's handling everything on her own now. She definitely has what it takes to succeed." I sat quietly again, but inside I was restless. I wanted to know when people would see me, not their faded idea of me. Thanksgiving wasn't planned that year. I was going to escape on my own, but Mom called, sounding more vulnerable than usual. "I haven't been feeling well, Emma. No one's really up to cooking this year. Everyone's looking forward to the holiday, you know how it is." I knew dinner would be forgotten, but everyone would notice if I didn't show up. "I'll take care of it," I said. "You get some rest." I contacted a Chicago high-end catering company I'd used for my business auctions. Private collector dinners featured custom-designed meals that were works of art from plating to seasoning. I put everything on my company's secondary card. No one knew. Nobody asked. They expected I knew a few cooks. Thanksgiving morning, I arrived early. The caterers came an hour later with portable ovens, silver trays, and a talented tablescape designer. Olivia whispered to Mom, "Isn't she overdoing it? Looks like she's trying to impress someone." A quick smile passed between them. Impress? I had no one to impress. I just wanted one genuine meal. Not dry turkey, no mushy potatoes, not salty gravy that required water between bites. Dinner arrived quickly. Almost 20 people, grandparents, aunts, uncles, distant cousins, Olivia, and her new boyfriend, gasped over every dish. I smiled and served wine instead of talking. Mid-meal, I snuck upstairs to the old bedroom to secretly watch a Tokyo auction. A unique jade gemstone set was being bid on by my longtime client. I couldn't afford distractions. While connected via Bluetooth to my assistant, I tracked bids using my laptop's authentication application. Then Olivia walked in without knocking. "Do you have an iPhone charger?" "My phone's dying," she asked, peering at the graph-filled laptop screen. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. Her smile turned small. "Mind if I show everyone just how cool your little antique work is?" She grabbed the laptop and headed to the dining room before I could stand. "Guys, look what Emma is doing on Thanksgiving," she announced as I chased after her. She showed everyone the screen. Complete silence. The open tabs revealed a $12.6 million bank account, a $400,000 authentication contract, and the latest internal quarterly report showing over $4 million in corporate earnings. Silence. Someone's fork scraped a plate in the silence. Mom broke first. She gave a small laugh and took a bite of turkey, shaking her head. "Come on now. Emma is probably just helping someone with paperwork, right, sweetheart?" Taking a deep breath, I adjusted my sleeves and stepped forward. "No, Mom. I'm the one signing the contract. I am the CEO of Silver and Violet. My company runs 3 offices across 3 states, specializing in antique jewelry and estate asset authentication. Everything you're seeing is real." A spoon dropped. Aunt Carol gasped. My father leaned back, his forehead sweaty. Olivia grabbed the edge of the table, her voice cracking. You have that kind of money and didn't say anything? Mom and Dad are in debt because of me. I'm still in school. I faced my mother. I've been transferring $7,000 to you every month for over 2 years. You never wondered where it came from." Her face turned pale. Dad turned red. Olivia started crying, trembling. "I had a right to know. I'm your sister. Family is supposed to share," she said. I looked at all of them. The people who had mocked and belittled me. I spoke honestly but politely. Family doesn't mean carrying the people who always look down on you. I closed the laptop and left. Someone shouted something about duty behind me, but I didn't turn. All I heard was my heartbeat, like an ancient gold watch ticking perfectly despite years of dust and neglect. No one hugged me or said, "Emma, we're proud of you." No genuine smile. Mom's voice hit me after a long silence. "You've got millions of dollars, and you still let your parents struggle. Did you even think about your sister?" Before I could answer, Olivia cried and shrieked, "I deserve to know. I'm your sister. You kept everything secret and just sat there watching us suffer." Suffering. I laughed. "You call flying business class, wearing a Cartier watch, and buying a BMW suffering?" My silent father hit the table with his hand. "That's enough. No matter what you do, you're still a daughter of this family. Family share. You should be ashamed for keeping this a secret." I looked around the table. They weren't looking at me with family eyes. They were looking at me like a broken open safe. "I've sent $7,000 a month to you and Mom for 2 years. Every time you called crying, saying you couldn't manage, I never asked why. I didn't set conditions. I just quietly sent the money, and this is how I'm repaid." Mom replied, "Then why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you tell us you were successful? Was it because you didn't want us to rely on you, or because you wanted to keep it all to yourself?" I gripped my glass as I spoke. "Because I got used to being ignored. Ever since Olivia was born, I have stopped being a priority. Every award I won, every exam I aced, it was all forgotten because your sister needs to rest." I faced my mother. "Do you remember when I got a perfect SAT score or when I got a full scholarship? And Dad, do you remember my graduation?" No one came. Everyone was too busy watching Olivia's preschool ballet recital. My hands were shaking. Mom's mouth moved, but nothing came out. And now the moment you find out I did something none of you ever believed I could do, your first reaction is anger because I didn't share it. That's not it, Olivia responded. I'm just shocked. I feel betrayed. You didn't trust me. I softly addressed my sister. You've never trusted me. You've always seen me as the shadow behind you. You mocked my work in front of your friends. You told them I lived off mom and dad when I'm the one who paid for every semester you studied, every vacation you bragged about online. Olivia froze, eyes wide. She didn't expect me to know that. Emma, I'm not trying to fight, but you can't hide that kind of fortune and expect everyone to act like nothing's changed, Mom said shakily. The family needs help. You could start a fund for Olivia. She wants to open her own interior design firm. You mean use my money to fund a dream that's never been followed through? I unlocked my purse, took out my phone, pressed a few buttons, and said, I just canceled the automatic transfers. The room exploded. Emma, you can't do that. Your father and I were counting on that. Olivia hasn't even finished her degree. Then it's time to start figuring it out. I've been on my own since I was 17. If I can do it, so can the rest of you. I stood up. My chair fell backward. No one stopped me, so I turned around one last time. If the only reason anyone wants to keep me in their life is money, then I'm sorry, but I'm done buying love, and I don't need it anymore. As accusations flew, I walked out. Someone suggested getting a lawyer. Another said, she'll regret this. I only felt relief as I closed the heavy wooden door behind me. I left the Thanksgiving feast. No one saw me go. It was the first time I didn't regret choosing myself. My phone buzzed nonstop that night, like someone was holding down the call button. Text messages filled the screen. Mom sent the first. Emma, you're making everything worse. We need to talk. Olivia's falling apart. Can't you see she's losing all hope? Family is where you come back to, not what you walk away from. Dad was more measured and cold. I don't know what kind of person you've become, but this is not how you treat family. Olivia sent 37. You're ruining everything. You'll regret this. I turned off my phone and placed it face down on the table to quiet the storm. The next day, aunts, distant relatives, and even my dad's friend's wife, who used to say, Emma is sweet, even if she's not exactly brilliant, spammed my corporate emails. I hired a lawyer named Thomas. I'd used him for VIP estate matters before. I explained the situation, but he didn't need much explanation. His nod was straightforward. You need a clean break financially and legally. I'll draft the cease and desist letters today. We officially told everyone on the list to stop harassing, threatening, and asking for money. Thomas, please say this in simple language. Love shouldn't have a price tag. A week later, Olivia posted a long, cryptic note online. Not everyone with money has a heart. She included photos of me holding her as a baby, from high school graduation, and smiling at her 17th birthday lunch. All the posts were passionate accusations trying to get sympathy. The comments split into two groups. One called me a soulless ATM. Another asked why an art school student was using 8-year-old photos. I stayed silent, taking the 15-year-old pearl necklace Grandma Betty gave me from the wooden box in my closet. I wore it around my neck like the memory that had sustained me for years. Grandma was my only unblocked relative. When I called to tell her everything, she wasn't surprised. She sighed. You finally did what you should have done a long time ago. I stayed quiet. She spoke slowly but firmly. Emma, family isn't the people who pull you back when you're trying to fly. You've lived in their shadow long enough. It's time you choose your own light. I invited her to stay with me for a few days the next week. She brought some bags and homemade butter cookies. She, who had taught me to tell truth from imitation by instinct, smiled like her whole life had been waiting for this moment. As we sorted through a gem collection I'd brought from Switzerland in the living room, I changed all my numbers. Personal addresses were removed from the company system. My receptionist was instructed to deny family claims without an appointment. I moved to a guarded biometric headquarters. Thomas called on Monday morning while I drank coffee and read an exhibit concept. I smiled because silence had become unbearable. It didn't matter anymore. I didn't need them to recognize me. I could stop asking for permission to be myself. My grandmother watched me. A true gem doesn't need to shout to prove its worth. It only needs not to be buried among the rocks. I was in the right place and couldn't go back. My new home came in early March. A Lake Morgan lakeside mid-century cottage in Asheville. Unassuming from the outside, but inside, I installed AI-integrated surveillance cameras, a perimeter fence, and a jewelry vault. In my new office, I personally assembled a warm amber desk lamp, a soft leather chair, and a vintage wood bookcase from a closing bookshop. It smelled like those afternoons reading Nancy Drew in Grandma's attic. For the first time, I lived without shrinking. No need to downplay my success to appease others. No more disapproving looks or disappointed sighs. No more Olivia commenting, "That necklace looks like it's from Target." No more obligatory Sunday dinners. I filled every void by being my authentic self. Everything made the company stronger, which surprised me. After Olivia's cryptic social media post, previous clients contacted me. Questions were skipped. Some trusted me more since I'd kept quiet for years. A famous fashion designer asked me to authenticate his vintage jewels for a New York exhibition. A major European institution asked me to preserve an 18th century jewel collection. I hired 2 more appraisers, opened a Chicago office, and partnered with 3 foreign auction houses. My CFO hesitated one afternoon. "We're in a position to acquire a smaller competitor in the South. If you're ready, Emma, this could be the time to expand our influence." I smiled. I never sought power. From the beginning, I wanted freedom. Early one morning, I sat at the second-story window with black tea, watching mist rise from the lake. Grandma wore her favorite sky blue cardigan as she watered plants. She had stayed much longer than expected, and I was grateful. "Do you know what I'm most proud of?" she asked me one evening while sorting gemstones in my office. I shook my head. "Not your wealth or career," she said. "That you stayed true to your values even when the price was high." I thought about that phrase for days. I realized I'd spent all those years staying quiet to avoid hurting others. The nights I came home with heavy shoulders, thinking I had to be extraordinary just to be noticed. For years, I tried to be useful just to be seen. Now that I'd revealed myself, I didn't need anyone's approval. During inventory inspection for restoration, I found Grandma's pale purple stone swan hairpin in that antique box. I'd kept it all these years since it started everything, not because of its value. I placed it in a blue velvet box with a short note: "You brought light to the unseen girl." That box sits on the first shelf of my private gallery to remind me that my journey wasn't privileged. It began with being forgotten. Soon after, I was invited to speak at a Paris Heritage and Value Conference. For once, I didn't hesitate. I stopped thinking about what others might think or how the spotlight might diminish my family's view of me. I was going under my real name, with the firm I started from scratch, wearing Grandma's white gold ring, carrying the quiet pride of someone who had been ignored yet never forgot who she was. Emma's story teaches us that sometimes leaving family for truth and independence takes courage. Not everyone gets the love they deserve, but everyone can choose not to live in injustice forever. Emma's success didn't happen overnight. She found self-love without her family's approval. That's real healing. That's real freedom.